And yeah, so welcome everybody to the SALT Open Hour. Um, Anil's out of office right now, so asked me to get us started, and yeah, that's what I've done. Chung, I don't know if you had anything in particular you wanted to talk about, or we can kick it over to Tom because I know he mentioned that he's got to bail early.
Just real quick, we had a fireside chat a couple of days ago. Many of you were there. We had talked about setting up some one-on-ones. These one-on-ones are not the typical type of one-on-ones. These one-on-ones are basically just for me to sit down with each of you individually and talk about what your expectations are of the community manager, what you want to see happen, things that you feel can be done better in the community, and basically just a download from each of you for me. So those one-on-ones, watch for invites, are going to start next week. So and I'm not going to overload you guys with these. It's going to be, one a month for each of you, most likely, unless you guys feel like you want more. So yeah, that's it for me. That's really all I had at this point. Oh, and one more thing, we need SaltConf speakers. We're about halfway to where we need to be, and I'm looking for additional speakers. So if you guys would like to do a presentation, because I know how much we love to do those, please hit me and let me know. Or if you have somebody in your network that might be interested, please send that information to me and I'll reach out to them myself, and we'll run them down. So thanks a lot. That's it. That's all I had.
All right, thanks. Tom, do we have any announcements or previews of announcements that are going to be coming up with VMworld?
Oh, we are going to have a few things at VMworld. Now, I mean, we're going to be able to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things we're doing in the project, like salt extensions. I believe we're going to hit a few radars at VMworld. Item is going to be in the VMworld. Well, I don't know if I should say this publicly yet, but Item is going to be in the VMworld keynote. We're really excited about that. I'll take this opportunity. There's been a lot of confusion with respect to Item and Salt lately, because some people inside of VMware think that it's a replacement. I've had to hammer that home so many times that I'm just going to start with, almost every time I publicly mention Item, that it is not a replacement of Salt. No. It's really tackling a different automation problem in a very different way, and it's intended to be a sibling to Salt. Salt is very, very good at managing devices, and the Salt management model is one that abstracts device management. Direct API management has different abstractions, something we certainly learned in the years of developing Salt. And the goals of Item are to really target the different abstractions and needs we run into when we're automating APIs and clouds and things of that nature. Optimally, Salt and Item will work hand in hand in being able to automate things like cloud resource and sort of loads, while then being able to hand off to Salt to manage devices, virtual machines, everything that's going on inside of whatever a continuously managed device needs to actually be, because that in and of itself is I mean, that's a very important paradigm inside of automation, is being able to handle really that bridge. So that's the only little preview that I've got there. I am pretty excited to say that I've been fighting really hard on an Item front, and we're about to get more teams and things in place for that. So we're going to be finally seeing some real traction there as well. So I'm really excited that that's coming together, because a lot of my hope is that Item will actually enable us to increase Salt usage, that we'll be able to have a platform that is able to look at those fundamental resources in the cloud and fundamental API resources, et cetera, and give Salt new hooks into managing more devices and more systems than it has before. So in a nutshell, my hope is that Item is not a replacement for Salt by any stretch of the imagination. That's utter bullcrap. item is here to enable and empower and make salt get used more. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, Wayne.
Nice, awesome, that's cool. I think many people will be very interested in that. I know, I think all of us are very excited for Salt to grow and continue to be an awesome config management tool. And the more places we can make Salt powerful, the better. In that same vein, actually going to talk a little bit about the Salt extensions. There'll be some announcements at VMworld, but we'll be talking about one of the Salt extensions that we've been working on internally, and we'll be releasing here in the next couple of weeks. But we've been working on one specifically for vCenter and vSphere, and being able to manage that. We are using this as kind of a proving ground for the whole concept of Salt extensions. You know, I was reading one of the First Things First, and in there it was talking about how you know, when you are growing anything and you move from, you know, here to here, and then you try and go, you know, when you go from A to B, you've got one method and mode of thinking, and then when you go from B to C, well, you can't repeat that same A to B thinking. You've got to change how you're thinking and change that approach from A to B, and now change your thinking to B to C thinking. And that's really, I think, what Salt extensions represent for the Salt project, because, you know, we got to where we are by thinking a certain way and including all of these batteries in Salt, and having all of these modules just come baked in. But you know, we've kind of hit the limitation of that model. You know, we see that our pull requests take an unfortunate amount of time to get merged, and you know, there's just a lot of mass and momentum in Salt, and so trying to make changes is pretty difficult, especially if you know, you've got something that doesn't care about 90% of Salt. That's really it's really hard to just move all of Salt when all you really want to do is tweak this one little thing. So Salt extensions are going to allow us to pull some of these modules that are less core to Salt out and go much faster. You know, so our release model for extension modules and just kind of the different things that we're going to do there are really exciting. I think it will be a very welcome addition to the Salt project, and push us from, you know, where we've been into where we're going. And it'll help us alleviate a lot of those problems and pain points we've got. Of course, it's not free, right? I don't think we should go into it with that expectation, but I think the problems that we'll face and solve and overcome will be very much worth it for what we get out of the deal. So that's kind of it as far as what I had to talk about with Salt extensions. I don't know if anybody else on the core team had any announcements or any other information that they wanted to share. If not, then we can go ahead and open it up for Q&A.
Will Salt extensions have a separate delivery method? Will that be a separate repo pull, or will it be part of the standard delivery with a different include?
So generally, all right, yeah,
go ahead,
Wade. Pedro. Okay. Yeah, so I was just going to say that as long, technically speaking, as long as the extension module is in your Python install, in your Python path, then Salt should be able to pick it up. What that means is that typically a Salt extension should just be pip installable, and we can distribute it via PyPI. that will be kind of at least currently, that's the de facto plan for distributing salt extensions. We are looking at building sort of an extension, I guess, maybe not necessarily repository, but a list, a collection of all of the salt extensions. That's kind of one of those questions where it's like, okay, we know that we need to do this, but exactly what that ends out looking like for the salt community is still kind of up in the air. And I think we'll, as we start to use it more and say, oh, that doesn't work very well. Oh, this is kind of a pain point. How do we get around this? That we'll be able to start solving those problems. But specifically to your question, just a simple pip install should work. What's actually really interesting is with the Tiamat builds that we're looking at, because you can include other packages with your Tiamat builds. In theory, it should be relatively straightforward to use Tiamat. Like if you want, if you have a large infrastructure and you have very specific extensions that you just want everything to have installed, you could actually go ahead and build your own Tiamat packages for deploying salt within your own infrastructure. And that would be a way to bundle all the pieces that you need. So rather than having to rely on PyPI's availability, for instance, you just have one installer within your own infrastructure that you pass out. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Could someone point me at any sort of documentation about salt extensions?
Yes, we do have, it is the salt extensions repo. Let me grab a link for that. Under the salt stack org or salt extension. I'll drop a link to that here in chat. But that's what we have right now. So that project, which is pip installable, allows you to create salt extensions. So it'll just, it's very similar to what used to be called PopSeed. I don't know if that's what it's currently called, but it basically will create a template project that you can use and then go in and modify it. But it comes with many of our best practices just baked in, using Nox and pre-commit hooks. It has documentation set up. Don't remember if there's anything else that I'm missing, but it's a good starting point. The documentation on there should get you, if you follow the example on the README, then you should be able to have a salt extension in a local directory that you can start playing around with and kicking the tires on the process. I know we have had a few community members already using this just internally. And so they've had some, sounds like they've had some good success with that. So by all means, do kick the tires. If you find any bugs or any problems with the process, definitely let us know about that so we can work on getting those fixed.
Great, thanks.
Just to add a little more info or an additional comments on salt extensions. Like if you have identified like a piece of the project right now, like a particular module that doesn't seem like it's getting attention, or it's just something you personally want to kind of take ownership of, so the salt extensions are a perfect venue for that. Break it out, as Wayne said, like create a salt extension, move the code in there, and then at some point in the near future, we will have a list of those salt extensions, and yours will kind of get added to the list that people will be able to pip install. So one of our hopes, just building on what Wayne said, one of our hopes with salt extensions is to make development of salt and maintenance of salt go a lot smoother and quicker, and give ownership back, give the community more input, more ownership into some of the components that we as the core team don't necessarily have the time or resources to get to. I don't know if anyone has checked the sheer number of modules across the code base that are there currently. But there's no way that we as a team can maintain all of those. We try our best, but we just simply can't. So Salt Extensions gives all of you all the ability to kind of take more ownership over those projects.
Are there any limitations in terms of what you can do from a salt extension versus what you can do from a module, or a runner, or it's essentially the same, the same interface in terms of interfacing to salt? Yeah,
it's actually very similar. So if you have a custom module today and you add it into SRV salts underscore module or underscore states or underscore beacons, engines, etc. It's similar, if not the exact same mechanism for getting loaded into the salt subsystem. The major difference is just the ease of installing it. So as Wayne said, like being able to just pip install it, and if there's an upgrade to a salt extension, just being able to upgrade it via pip, or specify a specific version via pip. So from that perspective, it should be a lot easier to maintain and a lot easier to know what modules you have, what salt extensions you have. One of the major, I don't want to downplay Pedro's work, but one of the major additions, and it's actually a fairly simple addition, was when you run a version report now, you'll actually, if you have salt extensions installed, it will tell you what salt extensions you have installed and what versions you have installed. So you can easily know what versions of those salt extensions you're running.
awesome, thanks.
I'm sure Pedro too, if he's able to, can talk more about the kind of the differences in from a loader perspective, like how that differs from like the previous method.
From the loader perspective, we only changed what we used to load it. So previously we were using package resources, which is historically slow. And so importantly, .metadata got added to Python 3.10 and is backported to Python 3.6, which is way faster and does not do some weird caching. So you just pip install it. On the Silicon release, we can actually detect a new extension after you just pip installed it. Right now you have to restart your daemons. And then you can just start using it, just like any other regular salt module. Invoking that extension is the exact same way as invoking the built-in salt module. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, the way that you use salt with them remains the same. The added benefit for extension creators or maintainers is that you no longer try to push that module into salt, and you can actually maintain it yourself and reiterate your releases way faster than salt releases are released. And for that, we also work on a PyTest extension. So the hurdle previously was, how can I test my code outside of salt? And prior for us to start releasing these extensions support more vocally, we actually made some changes. Now we can run tests against salt, and now it's super simple. You can even run against multiple versions of salt. So you can verify if your extension works on this upcoming release, 3 previous releases, etc. It's supposedly and so far super simple. So if you start trying things out and hit a snag, do let us know. The PyTest extension is PyTest Salt Factories. Even though it has grown quite a bit now, the idea is to be simple. There's still some documentation to be added there. I would like to have like a from start to end on how you test an extension, on how you test a piece of your module, etc. But those will get added as time goes by, and if you struggle on something, do let us know, because since that's also not part of Salt, we can iterate releases faster on that end. But yeah, this should simplify someone's work to create a new Salt module or create a module that should be used only inside your company and not released. And you don't have to maintain that on a state tree. You can actually just package it. So yeah, hopefully you'll get a ton of fun doing this as we did, enabling it.
I definitely have to say that the process of, or the times that I've worked on the extension module we've been building, it's much nicer to be able to run a very small section of tests, both, I mean, even unit and integration and functional tests within the extension module. It's, you know, when it's nice and isolated, it makes that there's just something about that that feels like it works better. Maybe it's just all in my head, but it is nice. You have any other questions or comments, thoughts about VMworld or SaltConf?
Just a reminder, yeah, I'd like to invite everyone to attend VMworld, just so that we can hype item and support item, and also want to remind everyone, if you have not done so, go register for SaltConf. Just go to saltconf.com. The first 500 people get a sweet gift box that has all kinds of goodies in there, like Yeti mugs and, you know. Yep. Thank you, Derek, for putting it in the chat. Excellent. And the first 1,000 people that register get a SaltConf t-shirt. I think you've all seen them. Pretty cool stuff. And we'd appreciate you showing up and attending. And again, if anyone wants to present at SaltConf, we still have spots available. We will be doing some stuff about item at SaltConf. There will be sessions about item there. So good stuff there as well. And now Shane will play guitar for us for the next 20 minutes. I'm good.
Saltine's home concert.
Exactly.
I don't know. I saw you with a guitar, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I don't let anybody hear me. That's the difference. Okay, well, Wayne, I guess if nobody has anything else, we could give some time back to people. And it'll be open half hour today, if nobody has anything else. Everybody's good? Yeah. All right. Well done, Wayne. Excellent job, man, hosting the open hour. And thanks everybody for showing up. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Bye.